Hey there! So, let's talk about Deadpool, shall we? I was sold on this movie right from the get-go with its wild and crazy marketing. The fact that you have this character that is aware of the fiction that he's in and is able to kind of break the fourth wall on occasion is a genius bit of commercializing and advertising too with regards to a movie like this. So you could make an entire movie just based off of the marketing alone, but I had no trepidations going into the full-length movie for Deadpool. Right from the very beginning of the film, with its opening title sequence, this movie really gets you into this wacky and crazy world of the Merc with a mouth. The fact that he's got titles and credits that are saying directed by a major tool or an asshat production starring some jackass, and immediately in this slow-mo shot you see a People cover magazine of Ryan Reynolds being sexiest man alive. Just all the self-referential humor and the meta humor that takes place within this movie is really clever and very engaging in a way, because this is a character that could very much run the risk of being annoying done in any other fashion without any charisma or was overly gratuitous with the meta humor. But I feel like the film really strikes a nice balance of comedy, action, and at times some seriously gruesome shit. And I feel you know what, Ryan Reynolds, he deserves this, man. He makes this role. This is the role he was born to play. And he has just as much screen presence and charisma in this movie as he would in say something like Van Wilder, one of the movies that made his career. And he does it all for a majority of the movie. I mean, there's a good portion of the movie where he's just, looking normal or he doesn't have a mask on. But when he is in the costume and everything like that, the performance of Ryan Reynolds still carries through everything, even though you can't see his face, because this mask is very expressive. It's a little CGI trickery here and there with regards to this mask can raise eyebrows, or sometimes they can give a little more flexibility with the way the mouth moves and everything like that. But it feels yeah, you get a sense that this is Ryan Reynolds in this suit. And you know what, this would be a character where that is perfectly acceptable. It's something like Spider-Man, where Peter Parker has to have his mask off in the middle of every fight scene just so you know it is Tobey Maguire at some point in this movie under the suit. With Deadpool though, there's no aside from some stunt work here and there, there's no doubting that it is Reynolds under that suit. You feel he is the kind of guy who would very much be heavily involved in the makeup process and the costuming process needed to become Deadpool, because he is that committed to this role and that committed to this character. It works for Deadpool in a way it probably wouldn't work for someone like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man or Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, where you need to kind of have a prerequisite of seeing their faces, seeing the actual star of the movie here, because Deadpool is all about expression with just a mask. Deadpool is all about being kind of the cartooniest comic book character in the Marvel Universe in a way. So this is very much in his wheelhouse, and it's very much in Ryan Reynolds' wheelhouse. I really had a good time at this movie. One thought that kind of came to me while I was watching this is out of nowhere, well, maybe not out of nowhere, but something like Spaceballs or Robin Hood Men in Tights, where it's this is what it would be if Mel Brooks got his hands on a superhero property, I feel. Just the right amount of farce and whimsy, but at the same time, it is still telling a pretty interesting story, and a pretty interesting love story, too. Because Ryan Reynolds is a very charming dude, and he and Morena Baccarin have really great chemistry here, where she could just be relegated to, okay, she is damsel in distress girlfriend. It is very kind of cool to see them just flirt with each other, talk to each other, just to see them in this relationship, and you buy it. It is very much, I think, you know what, this is a very romantic movie from time to time here and there, and you really get the sense of this dude is pissed off that this bad guy has messed him up, turned him into this superpowered individual who never dies, but at the same time is completely messed up with regards to his body and face, and is seeking revenge on him for that, for essentially saving his life but ruining his life at the same time. I really didn't have any issues with this movie at all. It has a perfect balance of a lot of things. Sure, it opens up. There really only, I want to say there's only about three big action sequences in this movie, but they spend a lot of time like really getting into the fun of these action sequences. Definitely, the film opens up with Deadpool essentially like in, you know, he's been doing his thing for a while as Deadpool, and it shows like flashbacks to, you know, when he was just regular Wade Wilson and the treatments he underwent and his torture at the hands of Ajax, aka Francis. And it's all interspliced with this narrative of him like wanting to kill Francis for what he's done to him. And meanwhile, you get to throw in a couple of extra characters here and there to like, you know, be kind of straight men to Deadpool in a way, such as Colossus, such as Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and there's a lot of cool references to that too. Like there's a point in the movie where Deadpool just shows up at the X Mansion, knocks on the door, and it's Negasonic Teenage Warhead who answers it. And at this point, they had met earlier in the movie, but now he's like seeking out their help, and he makes light of the fact is like, huh, funny how there's only like two of you guys around at any given time here. It's like we couldn't afford to have, you know, any more X-Men actors on set. That self-referential stuff, making light of the fact that he's fully aware that he's in a movie, addressing the audience directly. He pays homage to his comic roots in that sense, and stick around after the credits because he pays homage to John Hughes. Yeah, there's really not a lot to complain. I don't want to give away too many jokes. Like I mentioned, he has great chemistry with Morena Baccarin. He has great chemistry with T.J. Miller, who shows up a couple of times as his buddy who owns the bar that he goes to where soldiers of fortune gather and, you know, keep score and everything like that. They're kind of line-a-rama with each other where they're just trading off insults one way or another. Like you've seen it in the Red Band trailers, like Freddy Krueger facefucked the topographical map of Utah and so forth. There's expansions on that, elaborations on those jokes, but it's still very funny, and TJ Miller is really good as kind of his wormy sidekick. I like his relationship with Blind Al in this, even though she's only in the movie for like 2 or 3 scenes really, and it's just when he's kind of hanging out at home with her. It's really kind of cute. You know, I get along fine with this old lady, but like I enjoy giving her shit too. At one point he has his hand cut off because he cuts off his own hand to get away from Colossus's handcuffs, and he ends up like gently caressing her face with his little baby hand because it's growing back and it's just a little baby hand, and she's like, is it just me or is your hand creepily small? And he's just like, you might want to excuse yourself from the room because if I've got the hand like this, it's gonna be gigantic. Go, 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 go. Masturbation jokes. It is a crude movie, definitely. It's not just all fart and dick jokes. I mean, they're there, but you know what? Deadpool is actually a clever kind of character too. The fact that he is aware of the situation he's in as being purely fictional, and he can have fun with that as opposed to him just being able to say fuck a lot. I mean, he does say fuck a lot, but at least like it's balanced out with some actual like humor, sometimes at his expense too. Like when Colossus and he first kind of tangle, he tries, you know, kicking his ass and ends up like breaking both his arms, and at one point it just has his arms like this. He's like, oh man, I was never really good at the T-Rex moves, and just starts doing almost Thriller-like moves in a way. The different kind of expressions that come across this character's face even behind a mask, this shock and awe face he has, like when he realizes that the bad guy has escaped, he's like a Home Alone, again, John Hughes references, I'm sure, but like a Home Alone, like Kevin kind of look, but you can tell his mouth is open underneath and he's doing that face in a way. It's really kind of just insane and wacky, but funny at the same time. Everyone in this more serious roles, like the guy who plays Ajax or Francis, is pretty good. I mean, to be kind of just the antagonist. I think in the opening credits they call him the sneering British villain or something like that. But the fact that, yeah, he is a worthy enough foe for Deadpool because he can't feel things. So it's good to have like the unkillable mercenary up against the unfeeling mercenary in a way. And the fight sequences are actually like pretty kinetic and fun to watch. Like just tossing axes back at each other and everything like that. And there's a sequence that the movie opens up on, and you've seen it in the trailers and everything like that. It's like, bad guy, no, I wear this red suit so bad guys can't see me bleed. Like, that's part of it. But there's a point where he only has 12 bullets in his gun, and he's like, let's count them down. And so you are like counting down these bullets with him as he's going through stuff, and it's just fun. Like you'll see a bad guy like turn a corner, and Deadpool's just splayed out in like a seductive pose. You weren't paying attention, were you? 6 and just shoots him. It's really really cleverly done. Yeah, it's gruesome. It's violent. I mean, he's getting limbs hacked off here and there. People just getting headshot all the time. Like, got a fair amount of nudity in it, male and female. I guess this is just bringing me to the question I'm sure you're all wondering: is this appropriate for your kids? Because that was apparently a thing that was being petitioned, was to make a PG-13 cut of this movie, and you know what? No. There were kids at my screening, but they seemed to just be in it for the fun of it, for the Deadpool aspect of it, and they didn't seem like shocked or awed or like being like, oh, I can't wait to grow up to become a psychopath because of this. It's all about the parenting, and it comes down to you, the parent, to make the decision. It's like, this is a superhero movie, but it's a different kind of superhero movie. If I was about, say, 10 or 11, I could probably handle this, because at that point when I was 10 or 11, I'd seen some hard R movies and everything like that, and I was fine. Asking for people to tone down this type of movie, no, it had to be this, and I'm glad they stuck with the hard R rating. I'm glad that there isn't some neutered cut of this film like what they did with other franchises like Expendables. I wholeheartedly recommend you check this out in theaters. It is a blast. It is one of the most refreshing Marvel movies we've seen in a while. That's not saying that the Marvel movies are terrible, aside from certain endeavors like Fantastic Four. Marvel-based properties have been fairly entertaining, can balance some humor with some seriousness, but this is one that it's about time Marvel had a full-on parody of itself in a way, and I feel Deadpool really hits that home pretty hard here. Like he's a perfect character to kind of, again, like I said, have the Mel Brooks of the superhero movies. And I really hope they do a sequel with Cable and everything like that, because you know what? That'd be more like along the lines of like Abbott and Costello type stuff for me, because that's what Cable is to him. He's the Abbott to his Costello. So yeah, wholeheartedly recommend you check this out. It is the good Ryan Reynolds superhero movie, the one we've been asking for, and the one that has finally come to pass. It's probably one of my favorites so far of the year. But that's it for now. Did you enjoy Deadpool? Did you not enjoy Deadpool? Were there some characters you kind of wished made the cut, or some plot lines you wish they'd gone with as opposed to that? Was he annoying to you, or was he lovable? Just let me know in the comments below, and probably be back with a little Zoolander 2, which could go either way.